Open with the exact moment in the crowded Melbourne waterfront restaurant when Sophie's mother leans across the table, champagne glass in hand, and says the unthinkable words in front of 40 guests. End on the deafening silence and Sophie's single slow blink. Call to subscribe channel and where are watching from. The chandelier lights glitter across the Yara like 1,000 judging eyes. 40 guests in designer dresses and tailored suits lean forward, smiling, waiting for the proud toast. Sophie's mother rises, champagne flute raised, cheeks flushed from too many $1,000 bottles. She locks eyes with her 23-year-old daughter and says, clear as a gunshot, "Sophie, we wished you were never born. Truly." The glass stops halfway to every lip. Forks freeze. Someone's phone clatters to the floor. Dead silence. Sophie doesn't flinch. She just blinks once, very slowly. If that just made your blood run cold, smash subscribe right now and comment where you're watching from. Because what Sophie does next broke the entire country. Sophie Harper, 23. First-class honors in psychology from the University of Melbourne. The kind of girl professors brag about, the one who never missed a lecture, never handed anything in late, never raised her voice. To the outside world, she was flawless. Long auburn hair, always perfectly straight, navy blazer pressed, polite smile that never quite reached her eyes. Instagram golden child. The daughter every two-rack mom wished they had. But behind the gates of that 6-bedroom mansion on St. George's Road, Sophie was furniture. Expensive, useful for photos, but never actually wanted. Her parents spoke about her the way people speak about a luxury car they regret buying. Beautiful, yes, high maintenance, drained the bank account, ruined the bodywork. Should have leased instead. She spent her entire life trying to make them proud enough to finally love her. Top marks, netball premierships, piano recitals, deb balls, anything. Every trophy went straight into the glass cabinet. Every hug lasted exactly 1.8 seconds. And Sophie kept smiling, because that's what perfect girls do. They smile while they bleed. But on this night, in front of Melbourne's richest and most vicious, that smile was about to do something no one in that room would ever forget. Go back 15 years. Little Sophie, 8 years old, standing on a stool in the marble kitchen of that 2-rack mansion, trying to reach the Nutella her mother had hidden on the top shelf because you're already getting hips like your father's side. Her mother walks in, fresh from Pilates, still in Lululemon, and laughs, not kindly. "Look at you. I used to have a waist like yours before I had to carry you for 9 months. You ruined my body, darling, my career, too. I could have been editor-in-chief by now if I hadn't been stuck changing your nappies." Sophie never got the Nutella. She got sent to her room instead. Door locked from the outside on her 8th birthday because big girls don't cry over jar spreads. Year after year, it was the same quiet violence. Birthday number 12, the entire family flies to Nosa without her because Sophie's grades slipped to an A- in maths, and we don't reward mediocrity. She spent the week alone with the Filipino housekeeper who wasn't allowed to speak to her after 8 p.m. Her father? He only ever looked at her when she brought home a trophy. Then it was a curt nod, a photo for the firm's Christmas newsletter, and back to his phone. She learned early, love was conditional, and the conditions were impossible. So she became perfect. Dangerously, obsessively perfect. And still, it was never enough. Because some children aren't raised. They're endured. And Sophie Harper had been endured for 23 long years. Until the night that endurance finally snapped.
The Quay Restaurant, South Bank, 8:47 p.m. Fairy lights strung across the Yara, the Melbourne skyline glittering like it's personally cheering Sophie on. White orchids on every table, $1,800 bottles of Dom Perignon flowing, the string quartet playing a soft cover of Clair de Lune. 40 guests in black tie and silk gowns. Sophie in a floor-length emerald dress that cost more than most people's rent. hair swept up, looking like she stepped straight out of Vogue. Her Uncle Richard finishes his speech, voice cracking with pride. Sophie is the brightest mind our family has ever produced. First-class honors, full scholarship, already headhunted by 3 firms. We are so proud. Applause thunders, phones up, cameras flashing. Her mother stands last, face flushed crimson from the champagne, lips glossy, diamonds flashing on her wrist. She raises her glass, swaying slightly. The room hushes, expecting the usual polished toast. Instead, she smiles the coldest smile Melbourne has ever seen and says, loud enough for every table to hear, "Let's be honest, everyone. Sophie was never planned. She was a mistake. A career-ending, body-destroying, life-ruining mistake. I had offers from Paris, New York, London, and then I got pregnant. I should have terminated. We both know it. Richard, darling, stop looking shocked. You were there when we discussed it." She turns fully to Sophie now, voice dripping venom. "We've smiled and clapped and paid for everything, but the truth is, we wish you were never born, Sophie. Truly, we really, really do." The quartet stopped mid-note. A waiter dropped an entire tray of champagne flutes. The crash echoed like gunfire. 40 faces frozen in horror. Phones still recording. And Sophie Harper sits perfectly still, emerald dress catching the light, green eyes unblinking. The point of no return just arrived, and it's wearing Louboutins. You could have heard a single ice cube melt. 40 phones, now openly recording. Red lights blinking like predators in the dark. Sophie places her linen napkin beside her plate with deliberate grace, pushes her chair back, and stands. Her hands do not shake. Her voice does not shake. It floats across the room like silk wrapped around a razor blade. "Thank you, Mum. 23 years I've waited to hear the truth out loud. I was starting to think I'd imagined it." She smiles. The same polite smile she's worn since kindergarten. Only now it looks different, sharper. "Let's give everyone the full story, shall we? Since we're all friends here." She turns to the room, voice still soft, still calm, still perfectly modulated for every microphone in the room. "My mother isn't wrong. I did ruin her body. She reminds me every time she buys a new Bergen to feel better about the stretch marks. And yes, Daddy's law firm did pay for my tuition, the same firm that's been quietly settling sexual harassment claims against junior associates for 15 years. You'll be reading about that next week." A collective inhale, sharp enough to suck the air from the room. Her father half rises, face purple. "Sophie, sit down." "No," she says sweetly. "You wanted honesty. Let's do honesty." She pulls her phone from her clutch, turns it to the room so everyone can see the screen. 4 years of recordings. Every voicemail, every "you were a mistake," every "I wish we'd left you at the hospital," every time you locked me out of the house because my grades weren't perfect. All time-stamped, all uploaded. She taps once. Live right now. Title, "What My Perfect Torak Family Really Thinks of Me." Currently at 112,000 views and climbing 1,000 per second. Her mother lunges across the table shrieking. Sophie doesn't even flinch. Security is already moving. And Sophie Harper just keeps smiling that terrifying, unbreakable smile while Melbourne's elite watch 2 reputations die in real time. Because the quiet ones never scream. They just detonate. Sophie's voice drops even lower. The kind of quiet that makes $400,000 worth of jewelry suddenly feel cheap. 4 years ago, on my 19th birthday, Mum left me a voicemail while I was sitting in the Monash library. She was drunk, said, and I quote, "If you don't get into Melbourne Uni, don't bother coming home. We'll tell everyone you died." I played it on loop that night until I stopped crying. Then I started recording everything. She scrolls slowly on her phone so every camera catches the screen. 437 voice memos, 211 text messages, 98 videos I secretly took when they thought I was asleep,
22 minutes edited down to the moments that would make a therapist retire. The main screen on the restaurant wall, usually reserved for wedding slideshows, flickers to life. Someone in the kitchen has patched her phone to the projector. The documentary starts playing on a 2-second delay. Her mother's voice, crystal clear. "I never wanted children. I wanted the house in Sorrento." Her father on speaker. "She's an investment that never paid off." 8-year-old Sophie's tiny voice, recorded under the dinner table. "Did I do something wrong, Daddy?" His reply, "You exist. That's enough." She lets it play for 10 more seconds, then pauses on a frame of her mother's face twisted in rage, screaming, "You were a mistake," directly at a 12-year-old girl holding a birthday cake she clearly baked herself. She turns back to her parents. "The video went live the exact second you finished your toast, Mum. Scheduled upload. Couldn't risk you noticing the red light on my phone." Her mother is on her knees now, mascara rivers, clawing at Sophie's dress, trying to rip the phone away. Security, 2 ex-AFL players in tuxedos, intercept them mid-lunge, pinning both parents like bouncers at a Collingwood pub brawl. The restaurant manager, a silver-haired legend named Marco, who's seen everything in 20 years on the Yara, walks straight to Sophie, takes her gently by the elbow, and says loud enough for every mic, "Miss Harper, this way, and for what it's worth, bloody well done." He personally escorts her through the cheering kitchen, chefs actually clapping with tongs in hand, and out the staff exit where her Uber Black is already waiting. The video is at 1.4 million views before she even reaches the car. 48 hours later, her mother's interior design firm loses every Torak client on the books. Website crashes from hate mail. Google reviews drop to 1.2 stars overnight. Her father's law partners call an emergency meeting and quietly remove his name from the letterhead by Monday morning. The video ends the weekend at 28 million views and #1 trending in 12 countries. And the final twist the internet never saw coming? Sophie never needed their money. Every cent they ever put into her education trust had been quietly transferred to her own accounts years earlier, the second she turned 18 and gained legal access. She left a 7-page, handwritten letter on the table that night, sealed with green wax. Only Marco, the manager, knows what it says. He still won't tell anyone. But he kept the letter framed behind the bar. 6 months later, Sophie Harper is sipping a $28 lychee martini on a rooftop in Potts Point, Sydney, sun setting over the harbor bridge, laughing with friends who actually love her. She never looked back. And that inheritance they kept dangling, like a guillotine, the one they swore they'd cut her out of the second she stepped out of line. She took it anyway. Quietly. Legally. The day she turned 18, every single dollar they ever put into her education fund had been moved into accounts they'll never find. Sophie was never the victim. She was the exit strategy. Most of you will close the video now feeling satisfied, but the 0.1% who stay until the absolute last silent second, you'll hear Sophie read one paragraph from that 7-page letter, the paragraph that made Marco, the manager, cry into his espresso the next morning. Don't skip it. You'll never forgive yourself.